you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing fantastic. I have something to show you. I already have it pulled up. It's kind of exciting. I think it's kind of exciting. So, those are your stats as of yesterday.
Oh yeah,
So, did a little bit of math. So, you've invested about $10,000 in Atlas, and your return is right at 122,000 in less than a year.
that's crazy.
That's insane. And you were telling me in Texas, that's not even counting the referrals you've gotten from Atlas clients.
No, there's a lot of I sat and reflected on this at another time, well, all the way through actually, and there's so many little different avenues of additional referral and so forth. As an example, just yesterday, as a matter of fact, one of the Atlas patients was converted to a personal injury patient. And here in Florida, personal injury, there's a minimum medical coverage of $10,000. So depending on how you practice, if you, I don't know, if you refer for MRIs or specialists and so forth, the case can be worth between $6,000 and $10,000. So for me, it's about $6,000 to $7,000 that case is worth. So, that's happened actually twice.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
That's
if
awesome.
if those patients hadn't come in, uh, and that doesn't reflect in the Atlas totals on the dashboard that you just saw. So
Yeah. So that's just extra on top of it. That when I showed those numbers yesterday to Marcos, he was like, "Do you remember when Dr. Norm started?" And you and I started at the same time, and I was like, "I actually do," because we kind of joined Atlas at the same time. So I just from Kimmy and Marcos and I, congratulations. That's just, I mean, that's amazing, and we're excited. And I'm glad you're home on a Friday because a lot of Fridays you've been in your office catching up on paperwork. So this is a good
because of
sign.
you guys, not because of
It's all our fault that you're working
right,
on Fridays. So
exactly.
when you started with Atlas, what were your expectations? What were you looking for in the beginning?
There were several things that attracted me to Atlas at this point. I had already been with two or three different companies, and both of those companies had a standard management fee of between 15 and 2,500 a month, and that was all fine and good at that time, but they didn't produce, so there was no return on investment, and so I had a kind of a sour taste in my mouth about digital marketing of any kind at that point. And but Atlas had been courting me. I'd been, I guess I clicked on a link, and since then they'd always been sending me email after email, Marcos's emails and so forth. And so little by little, I said, well, let me at least read the emails. And I guess this is how marketing works. I
We
mean,
break you
that's
down.
this is how it works for the doctors too. You know what I mean? You get in front of their faces a little bit, and they may not be interested at first, but you keep staying in front of their faces, and then little by little, well, let me click on this, and then wow, that doesn't sound so bad. Maybe I'll give it a shot. And that's exactly what happened here. And you were at that time, you were offering a money back guarantee, which you said if you didn't I don't know, just as an example, 60 patients through the door in the first 2 months, you'd refund everything. So I said, well, wow, there's nothing to lose at that point. And when I first started with this is right in the middle of that COVID lockdown thing. And so, February and March came along. My practice was not doing very well to begin with. And now we're looking at, 4 visits a week. Even though we were open, people weren't coming out. They were afraid and so forth. And so, you know, I didn't know what we were going to do. I didn't know if we'd have to close the practice or what. And so we kind of, held on through the months until June, when I started to really start seriously thinking about Atlas. And so the money back guarantee was very attractive, but also the idea that I don't have to do anything for
Yeah.
this was sort of, it was unbelievable actually. Since Ashley product was just going to do everything for me. I didn't need any staff. I didn't need to lift a finger. And at that time, my staff was furloughed. So here I am by myself trying to figure out in the office how I'm going to start bringing these numbers back up and get out of this pandemic mode and so forth. So the idea that it was easy and that I didn't need staff was the other thing. And so I said, well, let's give it a try. And so we started, went live in, I believe it was the middle of July. And within that first month, I don't know if you could bring the dashboard off, but within that first month, I think was, one of the best months I've had with Atlas, just that first month. Within a month, I had my practice up to, 50 office visits a week. The next month, it was 75 visits a week. The next month, it was 100 visits a week. And now we're sitting about a year later at 150 visits a week. And so what is that? 4 visits a week, 4 times 6, maybe 30 or 40 visits a week to 150 visits a week. That's tripling or almost quadrupling a practice in less than a year. And so with the other things that we're doing for not just marketing, we're doing Atlas marketing, but we're also getting back out into the community as well for other types of marketing opportunities, and also with specific types of coaching and so forth. I'm looking at doubling the practice even next year to 250. So.
And then when you double it to 250, will you stay a solo practitioner, or will you bring somebody on?
No, I think at that time, definitely, we'll need another associate at that time. We'll definitely be hiring other staff before then at that point. Right now, we're just 3, just 3. Amy and my office manager, she's just incredible. She does everything. She never complains. She's always on top of things. She'll run into a burning building for me. I hired my son as a tech CA. As previous to Atlas, I was doing everything. We got so busy that I just couldn't do it anymore. And so my youngest son, Justin, is now handling all of the therapist type activities. He's handling all the, the electrical muscle stimulation, hot packs, bringing patients back and forth to where they need to be. And we're actually starting him now learning how to take x-rays and learning how to, do blood pressure and learning how to do all these other things that I'm going to start handing off to him, because as we get busier and busier, I just don't have time to do all the things I did.
And it makes it so much easier. I know we've talked to a lot of the doctors, and you've been on the calls on the Tuesday calls, but so many doctors don't have somebody in their office they can trust to do that. Or they'll say, my CA won't do this. And it helps when you have a CA and an office staff that you trust and you can trust to handle the influx of new patients. But also when you have somebody you can trust to say, like you said, I need you to do the muscle stim and heat. I need you to take these x-rays, because that allows you to adjust and educate your new patients on the benefits of your care. And the more time you're not spending doing, not that they're the tedious parts, but the non-adjusting and the non-educating, if someone else you can trust them to do that, it opens your time up. And your time is so valuable. I mean, it's just
Right.
so valuable.
Right. I mean, I've never been busy enough really in my whole career of being on my own to have to worry about that, and it's a great thing, So I'm trying to migrate to just having to worry about adjusting, doing reports of findings, and taking x-rays and seeing new patients. That's all I want to think about.
When you started practicing, did you start as a solo practitioner, or were you part of someone else's practice before you started working alone?
Oh gosh, I've been practicing, hate to say it, I can't even believe it, just shows age, but 30 years now. It went by so fast, but no, I originally started practicing on my own as an independent contractor 30 years ago. But you know what, chiropractic school, they just don't, I don't know if it's just not enough time in the curriculum or whether it's just oversight, but they just don't really teach you how to run a practice, how to find patients, and so forth.
30 years ago when you did marketing, if I remember correctly, and I've talked to some other chiropractors who've been in business for quite some time, the yellow pages were kind of, you put an ad in the newspaper, or the yellow pages. And we were on a company call the other day, and I said something about the yellow pages, and all of the younger employees knew what they were, but they'd never used them. So it was so funny.
It's funny because just yesterday I referenced a similar thing. I was talking to a new personal injury patient that had come in after he'd already been through the gamut with a whole bunch of other bad attorneys, bad chiropractors, and so forth. And I said to him, "How did you pick this attorney? How did you end up with this attorney?" And I said, "Did you open up the yellow pages and throw a dart?" And he looked at me and went, "Huh?"
Like, what's the yellow pages? Well, it's we make those references and you don't I say all the time, and I know we talked about this in Texas. My southern comes out the more I talk. But I said the other day to my son, I said, roll up the window. We were in the car and I said, roll up the window. And he looked at me and he goes, Mom, where does that come from? And I was like, back in the day, you had to roll up the window. He
Yeah.
was like, oh, that makes sense. So, like, even in terms of marketing, I'm sure that you never thought when you first saw Facebook that you would be using Facebook to find new patients. I'm sure that, like, when you made your first Facebook account, that was never your intention of that social media platform.
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, before Atlas, any kind of digital online marketing, I kind of was like, you're just gonna wait. That's like, that's why don't I just burn my money kind of thing, you know what I mean? But obviously, that is not the truth. I kind of feel that way with Google marketing at this point, like AdWords, for instance,
Yeah.
and I'm slowly starting to migrate into maybe the possibility with you guys, for instance, of starting that, but anything that's new is always something that you're going to, balk a little bit on, and so forth. Like, for instance, seeing 150 patients. Uh, A year ago, I would have never even thought about seeing 150 patients in my practice. So once you get used to certain things and you start experiencing, say, digital marketing with Facebook and so forth, it opens up the possibilities for you in your mind to even go further and do maybe more things.
And to do and I think the thing with social media marketing is you can attempt to do some of it yourself. And so if you as a chiropractor try to do Google AdWords, for example, you'll see it's very tedious, it's very time consuming. And so it's typically not as successful when you try to do it on your own because you have to create this database of words and phrases that people look for chiropractic. And to develop that list takes so much time. The thing, and I know you said you're a little nervous about it, the thing we've done is we've gone in and we've already made a list of 10,000 words and phrases. So where you have to sit there and think of, okay, what are all the different trigger words that could possibly, be used to help this ad be successful? We've already done that. So that's where I think social media marketing is so incredible because you can do it yourself. A mom and pop shop can do any kind of social media marketing they want to. It's just when you want to take it to that next level because you may get a few leads if you do it yourself. But if you trust a company like Atlas, it will only, like you said, grow it, 3 or 4 times what you were at because you have people who this is all we do. So that's kind of the neatest part for me about it because I'm seeing it from a different standpoint because I was a CA before. So now I'm like, okay, well, this makes a lot of sense, you
Yeah.
know? So,
Well, I have done a lot of that myself, but it was at a time when I had all the time in the world to do it. Okay, so right now, again, seeing as many patients as we're starting to see, and I know some chiropractors are going to look at this and they're going to say, "Oh, wow, we already see 250. This guy is like still a baby," kind of thing. You know what I mean? But for me, with my staff, it's pretty busy. I don't have time to dabble in that anymore. Try to figure out which long tail keywords to use and put in, and which are the cheapest words and so forth. So once you get to a certain stage, you have to get comfortable with investing a little bit of money to have somebody do it for you, or you won't grow. You can't do it all yourself. You have to have help.
now you started working with a coach this year.
Yes.
Have you seen, do you think doing the coaching and Atlas together are beneficial together? I've actually never asked anybody that question. So I
Well, you know what? Um, I'm in a transition because of the coaching right now, where I'm trying to, I changed my whole schedule. As a matter of fact, we talked about having Fridays off. That is a result of the coaching.
mhm,
I used to have the standard schedule that most chiropractors have, or a lot of chiropractors have. You have work on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, full days, with lunch in the middle till 7 p.m. Start at 9, and then on Tuesdays you come in at 1, start seeing patients at 2, work till 7 again. You have Thursdays off, and you work Saturdays for 3 hours or so, from 9 to 12. Well, that all changed. We moved the Friday to the Thursday, and now we have Friday off and a short Tuesday. And we started seeing patients at 8 now instead of 9. And so what I'm trying to say, and also we cluster book now, where we never
mhm.
did that before. We cluster book all new patients in 1 hour. in the morning and 1 hour in the afternoon. And same thing with reports of findings in a different hour. We cluster book those in 1 hour in the morning. And then so we're only adjusting 4 different hours during the day. That's all we're doing. What a transition, I'm telling you. So I can't, that one thing has helped me be able to see volume of patients much, much more easier. And there's other things that I'm working on that haven't been able to give you I haven't been able to give you the, you know, the status quo on that yet. You know what I mean? Because I'm still going through the growing pains of it right now. But I know that it will help. And my answer to that question, the short answer is that yes. I think coaching is something that is important for everybody, because even sports figures, everybody has a coach. They can't do it on their own, and the only way you can get better, the only way that you can grow, I think, is to have somebody help you see what you're doing and make suggestions to improve it, streamline.
And the cluster booking is something that when I first heard about it, I was like, well, that makes complete and total sense. Why wouldn't people do that? But if you've never been told about it, you want to get patients in. So you don't, I would imagine when you go from seeing 4 a week to even 20 a week, you don't care when those 20 come in. You're just happy it's not 4 again. And so you're making such valuable use of your time and you're keeping your flow, which ultimately will affect everything from your stress level to how you're able to interact with your patients, because your mind can stop adjusting and switch to, okay, for the next hour I'm only doing report of findings. I'm not worried about going back to the adjusting room and having somebody wait on me. So it just helps you streamline your mental process as well.
Yeah. Well, before I would be in the x-ray room for 5 or 10 minutes. I'd go to the report of findings room and do half the report of findings, then go to the new patient room, do half of the new patient, then go see 3 new patients, then go back to the report of findings room, finish the report of findings, go back to the new patient, finish the new patient, go back to the x-ray room, see another. And it was doing that all day long, just exhausting, and
It sounds exhausting.
I mean, it was, but this way is so much, much easier. And I would have never really known to do it unless somebody taught it to me. You know what I mean? And that's what allows us to have Fridays off and long weekends and so forth, and allows us, even more importantly, to see more and more and more patients and help more and more and more of the community. Where before I'd be like, "Are you kidding me? How do these guys do it? I don't know how they do it. Not enough hours in the day."
Yeah, how do you fit it all in?
The thing that makes you guys different, I think, than most, is that you fix it. You know what I mean? And you make good on it. You know what I mean? And you're not greedy. And I really appreciate that. You know what I mean? Because as I move along and I get more and more busy and I start making more money, I like a partner that I know that's going to stick with me, and to have a partnership where we know that we're each going to benefit from it, is important.
Yeah. And I think part of the role I have that I enjoy so much is I'm the relationship person. I'm not the numbers person. And so at the end of the day, my goal is, are the account managers keeping their clients happy? And are we giving the results we promise? And like you say, it's not always perfect. And it's social media. I don't know if you remember in November, or I think it was October, we did the pitch where we tried to get everyone to increase their ad spend.
I did it. I first I went up to from 1,000 to 1,500, and then I went up to 2,000 for the holidays. And the holidays were the busiest time I've ever had as a result. I didn't. It worked for me. I just wanted to let you know.
It did work for good.
Yeah, I don't know about everybody else, but I even made the comment to a bunch of, I think even on some of the calls, that this was the first holiday that I can think of in my own practice, which would maybe be 4 or 5 years at that point, that I didn't have to worry about if I had enough in my operating account to pay the rent after the holidays. You know what I mean? Because it was that busy during the holidays, and I appreciated it. So it worked for me.
I can't wait to see what we do in the next year for your practice. I really expect to see your number at so if we're at 122 now, right at a year, I think you're going to be at a solid 250, 275 this time next year. I'll be shocked if you're not.
250. That's it.
Well, that's doubling it. I don't want to come back. Okay, so let's say 500, and if it's not, it's because you're not trying hard enough. It's not.
All right. Look, one of the things you mentioned, coaching, right? Okay, so one of the goals of the coaching is to close at a higher percentage. And right now, I mean, that dashboard reflects a dismally poor closing rate. You know what I mean? And so even though, look, you're looking at 10 to 11,000 a month on average that we're doing, but we're seeing a buttload of patients to do it. You know what I mean? And so what I'm working on is to try to triple or quadruple the close rate. If that were the case with the volume I'm seeing right now, it would quadruple the actual income as well.
So we're gonna say this time next year we're gonna be closer to 600,000. I'll be
Oh, I
happy
want
with
to
that.
I want to be even higher than that. But
Even
what I
higher than
mean,
that.
we're just setting goals. That's all we're
Yep.
doing. You know, if you set goals that are attainable easily, then you don't, it's no point, right?
You got nothing to work for. Exactly.
Right.
So Dr. Norm, thank you for today. I appreciate it. As always, we love working with you, and I can't wait to see what your numbers are next year.